Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. Now, as some of you know, I love ELO, and I'm not alone. Many people love ELO, even though in many ways they were an unlikely band to find the kind of success they did. Their albums were always adventurous. They were a fusion of many styles. They had a string section. They had a trio of strings that were part of the band. All things that most people, at least on paper, if you were to put it into an AI algorithm, would say is not necessarily the recipe for success in the pop world. ELO proved them all wrong, all of the critics. And they did so by following some simple yet profound musical truths. Number one was the songwriting. All of ELO's songs pass what I call the arrangement acid test. Now, what does this mean? It means that you take a song, and irrespective of the arrangement, it will withstand all sorts of rearrangements and manipulations. And so many of ELO's songs do that. Take Telephone Line. You could imagine it as an acoustic singer-songwriter song. You could take Wild West Hero and imagine it as a fully fledged country song as opposed to rock that dealt with Western themes. You could look at Don't Bring Me Down. You could almost imagine that rearranged as a heavy metal song. And these are just some. I mean, Can't Get It Out of My Head. You could imagine that as a classic pop tune in the microphone of someone like Sinatra or Vic Damone. And so there's the writing that can withstand any type of rearrangement, however different from the original intention of the songwriter, Jeff Lynne. Thing number two, Jeff Lynne's sense of arrangements. It might seem like a contradiction, but it isn't, because he could have done a lot of things with those great songs. But what he did with them created a sound that was all ELO's. There are some bands, especially today, that are quite interchangeable, but ELO had a sound. They had an arrangement that was based off of a combination of the great talent in the band, Bev Bevan's unique drumming, Richard Tandy's incredible tasteful way around so many different type of keyboards, the strings, of course, but there was something about the way Jeff put it all together that just gave it an instantly recognizable sound that really brought out the best in already good songs. So while a bad arrangement can't destroy a good song, a good arrangement can make a great song greater than ever before. And that's exactly what Jeff Lynne has always done through ELO. Now, number three, this is the production. So the arrangement is something that has to do with the way that the musicians themselves play their instruments and what instruments are getting played. That's the decision of the arranger, whether it's a formal title or not. Production is about how the recording goes and how the recording product, the recorded final product, actually sounds. And again, here, Jeff Lynne has had a wonderful impact on the possibilities of the way music can sound. Now, ELO records are unique in that they can sound great on a, huge stereo hi-fi system, top dollar, but they can also sound good coming out of a monophonic AM radio in the dashboard of a jalopy. And that is very unique because you've got people in terms of production on opposite ends of the spectrum throughout music history. You've got Phil Spector, who obviously designed his music to sound really good on a mono AM radio in that EL jalopy, where then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have, the people that are more sort of jazz oriented, more into detail, the Van Gelders of the world, and you have Steely Dan, sort of the ultimate audiophile band, if you will. And then you had ELO that were neither but could sound good on all systems. There's detail to be heard in the big expensive systems, and there is dynamic range, but at the same time, the essence of the music really came through even on cheap systems. And the fact that you can't really say Steely Dan sounds good on an AM radio, and you can't really say that the essence of a Phil Spector record is the same on a big, top dollar system, ELO sounded good anywhere because Jeff Lynne just knew the right way to record the instruments, and he knew how to mix them in such a way that was neither too cohesive nor overly separated. There was just a nice soundstage that, again, was quintessential ELO. And finally, the thing that made them special, I know recent lineups have been mostly session guys, but when ELO was a band in the 70s and 80s heyday, They were great live. They were all great musicians. While it wasn't always easy miking up, cello, violi, and violin, they just were able to pull it off so well, right from the early days to the sort of grand stadium tours that began with the Out of the Blue era, with the spaceship, very funkadelic that, and all of that. They just were able to pull it off live, and not many bands with such intricate and, dare I say, unusual arrangements and production techniques could do it, but ELO could always do it. Now, their farewell tour that they had, I think it was last year and this year, the road was long, but ultimately they had to cancel their last couple of gigs. But I really think ELO's legacy will live on. Well, ELO helped to define a production style that became a sound of an era. I don't think ELO will ever slip into, the disco or hair band or grunge stuff where, oh, it's so specifically tied to an era. ELO is just quintessential music. And yes, with a specific production style and all, but because of the strength of the songwriting and the passion with which it is played, I genuinely think the music will live forever. Well done, Jeff Lynne, and all of the other great musicians who were passed in and out of the band over the years. Truly one of the best to ever do it. Were they progressive? Were they rock and roll? Were they singer-songwriters? Were they disco? Were they disco very? They were a bit of everything. But they were just, more than anything, they were just ELO, their own sound, their own composition style, everything. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Take care.